welcome back to the channel. If you haven't seen part 1 of this series, I highly recommend watching it first, as we covered important topics like mental health, privacy concerns, cyberbullying, and addiction. Today, we'll dive even deeper into the hidden costs of social media, looking at how these platforms affect societal structures, democracy, and even our personal sense of identity. Buckle up, because there's a lot to uncover in part 2 of the dark sides of social media. Let's start by examining how social media impacts one of the core tenets of modern society, democracy. Erosion of democracy and the role of algorithms. Social media platforms have evolved into powerful tools that can influence elections, shape political opinions, and sway public discourse. While these platforms can promote democratic ideals by giving a voice to the voiceless, they also have a dangerous side. Algorithms designed to increase engagement often prioritize content that elicits strong emotional reactions, whether positive or negative. This can lead to the amplification of extreme viewpoints and the spread of misinformation, both of which undermine democratic processes. Consider how, during the 2016 U.S. presidential election and the Brexit referendum, misinformation and targeted political ads were used to influence voters. Cambridge Analytica, a now defunct data firm, collected data from millions of Facebook users without their consent and used it to craft highly specific, emotionally charged ads aimed at swaying political opinions. These ads were not fact-checked or regulated, leading to a torrent of false information that many users believed to be true. This situation highlighted how social media algorithms, focused solely on engagement, can be manipulated to influence electoral outcomes. But the problem goes deeper than just algorithms. The anonymity of social media has enabled foreign entities to meddle in elections across the globe. Troll farms, bot accounts, and fake profiles are regularly used to spread propaganda, manipulate discussions, and sow discord among the public. In a world where political interference can happen without borders, social media platforms need to be held accountable for the content that circulates on their networks. So, what can be done? Governments and tech companies must work together to implement stricter regulations on political advertisements and misinformation. Transparency in how data is collected and used is vital, and independent bodies should monitor these platforms to ensure they don't become tools for political manipulation. Users, too, have a responsibility to critically evaluate the content they see and not blindly accept everything shared on social media as fact. Cancel culture, a double-edged sword. Another major issue that has emerged in the era of social media is cancel culture. Cancel culture refers to the practice of collectively canceling or boycotting public figures, companies, or individuals who are deemed to have acted inappropriately or immorally. While this can be a powerful tool for holding people accountable for their actions, especially in cases of abuse, discrimination, or corruption, it also has a dark side. One of the dangers of cancel culture is that it can spiral into mob mentality, where people are canceled without due process, evidence, or the ability to defend themselves. Social media trials often occur without context, nuance, or consideration for different perspectives. A tweet or comment made years ago can resurface and lead to severe consequences for a person's career, reputation, and mental well-being, even if they've grown or apologized for past mistakes. Consider how fast these cancellations happen. A post goes viral, people react with outrage, and soon there's a collective effort to cancel the individual. Sometimes people are rightly called out for their actions. However, in other cases, people become collateral damage in a larger, more complex issue. In these situations, social media turns into a platform for public shaming, where nuance and rehabilitation are often ignored. The psychological toll on individuals who are canceled can be immense. They may face harassment, death threats, and the complete loss of their livelihood, even if their offense was relatively minor. In this sense, cancel culture can become a form of cyberbullying on a massive scale. The result is a chilling effect on free speech, as people become afraid to express themselves for fear of being canceled. While accountability is essential, it's equally important that we approach these situations with fairness and a desire for dialogue rather than immediate condemnation. Rehabilitation, growth, and learning should be part of the social media culture we foster. Surveillance capitalism, you are the product. Now let's talk about one of the most insidious aspects of social media, surveillance capitalism. Social media companies are not just offering free platforms for us to connect and share content. Their business model is built around the commodification of our personal data. Every time you like a post, share a picture, or engage with an ad, you're providing valuable information to these platforms, which they use to sell targeted ads. Have you ever noticed how after talking about a product with a friend, you start seeing ads for it on your social media feed? It's not a coincidence. Social media companies track your behavior across the internet, using advanced algorithms to predict what you might be interested in. This data is then sold to advertisers, who use it to target you with highly specific ads. The result is an entire industry built on harvesting and monetizing your personal data, often without your full knowledge or consent. This form of surveillance capitalism raises several ethical questions. Should companies be allowed to collect and sell your data without your explicit permission? What happens when this data falls into the wrong hands? We've already seen instances where data breaches exposed millions of users' private information to hackers and malicious actors. More troubling is how this data can be used to manipulate your behavior. Social media platforms are constantly tweaking their algorithms to show you content that will keep you engaged. But this often means showing you ads, posts, and videos that reinforce your current interests and beliefs. Over time, this can limit your exposure to new ideas, creating echo chambers and making it harder for you to critically engage with opposing viewpoints. To protect yourself from the negative aspects of surveillance capitalism, be mindful of the information you share online. Regularly review your privacy settings, use ad blockers, and consider alternatives to mainstream social media platforms that prioritize user privacy. FOMO, anxiety, and the fear of missing out. We also can't discuss the dark sides of social media without touching on FOMO, the fear of missing out. This psychological phenomenon has been exacerbated by platforms that allow us to see the highlight reels of other people's lives in real time. While you're sitting at home, scrolling through your feed, you might see friends traveling, partying, or enjoying an event, and this can make you feel left out, even if you had no real desire to attend in the first place. FOMO creates anxiety and dissatisfaction with your own life, as you're constantly comparing yourself to others. You may feel like you're not doing enough or not living up to the standards set by your peers. This pressure can lead to impulsive decisions and the need to constantly post about your life to prove that you're also living your best life. It's essential to remember that social media rarely shows the full picture. People generally post their best moments while leaving out the struggles, setbacks, and mundane parts of their lives. The perfect vacation photo doesn't show the stress that went into planning the trip, and the happy couple selfie doesn't capture the arguments that happen off camera. To combat FOMO, it's important to practice mindfulness and self-compassion. Take breaks from social media, focus on your own personal goals, and remind yourself that you don't have to live up to anyone else's standards. The loss of identity and authenticity. Finally, let's talk about identity. Social media encourages us to craft digital personas that may or may not align with who we are in real life. The pressure to maintain a certain image online can lead people to present a version of themselves that is inauthentic. Over time, this gap between online personas and real-life identities can create a sense of disconnection and confusion about who we truly are. Influencers, in particular, face the challenge of maintaining a carefully curated image, which can feel like a constant performance. This pressure can lead to burnout, as they feel compelled to keep up with the demands of their audience, brands, and algorithms. Regular users, too, often feel the need to conform to certain trends, aesthetics, or ways of thinking just to fit in with the digital crowd. But there's a larger question at play here. How much of our sense of self is shaped by social media? If we're constantly being fed content that tells us what we should look like, what we should care about, and how we should live, it can be hard to develop a true sense of identity outside of the digital world. The key to overcoming this challenge is to focus on authenticity. Rather than striving to fit into an idealized image, embrace your true self, flaws and all. Authenticity online may not always get you the most likes or followers, but it will lead to more meaningful connections and a stronger sense of self. Social media has become an inescapable part of our lives, and while it offers many benefits, it's crucial to recognize the darker sides we've discussed: manipulation, anxiety, loss of identity, and threats to democracy. By being more mindful of how we engage with these platforms, we can mitigate some of the harm and reclaim control over our digital lives. Let's dive deeper into the intricate, hidden mechanisms of social media platforms and explore even more of their darker aspects. While these networks have revolutionized communication, the full scope of their consequences is still being uncovered. In this extended analysis, we'll examine even more dimensions of how social media influences human behavior, disrupts societal norms, and poses risks to individual and collective well-being. The manipulation of emotions through engagement algorithms. One of the most significant aspects of social media platforms is their ability to shape and manipulate our emotions, often without our conscious awareness. The way these platforms are designed is no accident. They are built to keep us scrolling, liking, sharing, and engaging for as long as possible. The longer we stay on the platform, the more data they collect, and the more ads they can serve us. But in their pursuit of keeping users engaged, these platforms often push content that is emotionally charged. Studies show that emotionally engaging content, whether it sparks outrage, joy, sadness, or fear, tends to generate more clicks and shares. This means that social media algorithms often promote divisive or sensational content, as it's more likely to elicit a strong emotional reaction. Over time, this focus on emotionally charged content can shape how we perceive the world around us. For example, content that triggers fear or anger, such as conspiracy theories, misinformation, or polarizing political content, often spreads more rapidly than more balanced, factual content. When we are repeatedly exposed to this type of content, it can alter our worldview, making us more anxious, angry, or even desensitized to extreme ideas. This emotional manipulation can have real-world consequences, as it may lead us to make decisions based not on rational thought, but on the emotional reactions stoked by what we see online. This phenomenon, called affective polarization, is particularly evident in political discourse, where social media algorithms push users toward content that reinforces their existing beliefs while further alienating them from opposing viewpoints. Over time, this can create echo chambers where users are only exposed to one side of an issue, leading to increased political division and intolerance. The gamification of life. Another aspect of social media that often goes overlooked is how it gamifies aspects of our everyday lives. Whether we realize it or not, we are constantly participating in a system of rewards and punishments on social media. Each like, comment, or share acts as a form of social validation, reinforcing certain behaviors and encouraging us to curate our lives in ways that generate more engagement. This gamification can have profound effects on how we see ourselves and our relationships with others. People may find themselves increasingly seeking validation through social media interactions, leading to what psychologists call social comparison theory. This theory suggests that people measure their worth based on how they compare to others, something that social media magnifies by providing constant opportunities for comparison. For example, people may feel pressured to post photos or updates that they believe will garner the most likes or shares, rather than sharing content that is authentic or meaningful to them. Over time, this can lead to a disconnection between our online personas and our real-life selves, as we prioritize social media approval over genuine expression. Gamification can also encourage a sense of competition, where people feel like they are constantly in a race to win more followers, likes, or views. This can be especially damaging to younger users, who may tie their self-worth to the metrics of social media success. The quest for virality or online fame can lead people to take increasingly risky or controversial actions just to gain attention, often with detrimental effects on their mental health. In essence, social media platforms have transformed human interactions into a numbers game, where success is measured not by the quality of our relationships, but by the quantity of our likes, followers, and shares. Deepfakes and the rise of fake identities. As technology advances, so too do the threats posed by social media. One of the most alarming developments in recent years has been the rise of deepfake technology. Deepfakes use artificial intelligence, AI, to create hyper-realistic videos that can make it appear as though someone is saying or doing something they never did. This technology has the potential to completely erode trust in online content, as it becomes increasingly difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is fake. Deepfakes have already been used to spread misinformation, tarnish reputations, and manipulate public opinion. Imagine a scenario where a deepfake video of a political leader making inflammatory statements goes viral just before an election. Even if the video is quickly debunked, the damage may already be done, as many people will have already seen the video and formed their opinions based on it. The rise of deepfakes also poses serious risks to individuals' privacy and safety. There have been numerous cases of deepfake pornography, where individuals' faces are superimposed onto explicit content without their consent. This type of exploitation can be devastating for the victims, who may find themselves unable to clear their names or escape the damaging effects of such content. Beyond deepfakes, there's the broader issue of fake identities on social media. The ease with which people can create fake profiles, impersonate others, or engage in catfishing, the act of creating a false identity to deceive someone, can have serious psychological and emotional consequences. People who are targeted by fake accounts may find themselves caught in scams, emotionally manipulated, or even subject to harassment. The anonymity and lack of accountability that social media platforms provide create a breeding ground for these types of deceptive behaviors. As a result, it's becoming increasingly difficult to trust the authenticity of what we see online. The impact on children and adolescents. While we've discussed the psychological effects of social media on adults, it's crucial to explore the specific impact these platforms have on children and adolescents, who are often the most vulnerable. Social media has become a central part of young people's lives, but the consequences of this constant connectivity can be particularly damaging during these formative years. One of the most concerning effects is the increase in anxiety and depression among teens who are heavy users of social media. Studies have shown a clear correlation between the amount of time spent on social media and increased rates of mental health issues in young people. The constant exposure to idealized images and the pressure to present a perfect version of oneself can lead to low self-esteem, body image issues, and feelings of inadequacy. Moreover, cyberbullying is far more pervasive and damaging than traditional forms of bullying. Unlike schoolyard bullying, which might be limited to certain hours or locations, cyberbullying can follow a child 24/7. It can take the form of hurtful comments, spreading rumors, or even more extreme forms of harassment like doxing, publishing private information online. Victims of cyberbullying often feel there is no escape, which can lead to severe emotional distress, and in extreme cases, suicide. The addictive nature of social media can also interfere with children's development, as they may spend more time on their devices than engaging in face-to-face interactions or pursuing other interests. This can stunt their social skills and lead to a dependence on digital validation. Parents may find it challenging to monitor or regulate their children's social media usage, as many young users are highly adept at hiding their online activity or creating secret accounts. In response to these concerns, experts recommend that parents and educators encourage a healthy relationship with social media by setting boundaries, fostering open communication, and teaching children about the potential risks. Programs aimed at improving media literacy can also help young people navigate the complex social dynamics of the digital world. Environmental impacts of social media. While the conversation about social media often focuses on its psychological and social impacts, it's also important to consider its environmental impact. Few people think about the massive infrastructure required to support social media networks, but the servers, data centers, and energy consumption associated with these platforms contribute significantly to environmental degradation. Data centers, which house the servers that store and process the vast amounts of data generated by social media, require enormous amounts of electricity to function. They also need to be cooled. which consumes even more energy. As the demand for data storage continues to rise, driven by the increasing amount of content shared on social media platforms, the environmental footprint of social media grows larger. Moreover, the constant production of smartphones, laptops, and other devices necessary for accessing social media also has a significant environmental impact. The extraction of rare minerals used in these devices, the manufacturing process, and the eventual disposal of outdated technology all contribute to environmental harm. It's clear that while social media may seem like an intangible part of our lives, it has very real, tangible consequences for the environment. As users, we can mitigate our impact by being mindful of how we consume content, reducing our screen time, and supporting tech companies that prioritize sustainability. In this second part of our exploration into the dark sides of social media, we've uncovered even more layers of complexity. From the manipulation of emotions and gamification of life to the rise of deepfakes and the impact on children, it's clear that social media is far from a neutral tool. It shapes how we think, feel, and behave, often in ways we don't fully understand. As we continue to navigate this digital landscape, it's essential to remain critical of the platforms we use and the content we consume. By staying informed, setting healthy boundaries, and pushing for greater accountability from tech companies, we can mitigate some of the more harmful effects of social media. Thank you for sticking with me through this in-depth exploration of the dark sides of social media. If you found this video insightful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might benefit from this conversation. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon for more content like this. Take care of your mental health, stay informed, and remember to stay authentic, both online and offline. See you in the next video.